The judge in Donald Trump's New York criminal trial threatened to throw Trump in jail for violating his gag order. Meanwhile, MAGA Republicans are humiliating themselves in a desperate bid to become Trump's running mate. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. Trump is under a gag order in his New York criminal case that prevents him from disparaging jurors, witnesses, court staff, or their family members. It does not prevent him from saying whatever else he wants about the case or about any other topic, as proven by the fact that he routinely stands outside the courtroom and does his usual stream of conscious rambling like this.
So as you know, late last night we got back from Michigan. We went to Wisconsin and Michigan yesterday. Interest rates are obviously not going to be able to be reduced prior to the election. They are very surprised. I'm not surprised, but they're surprised. I guess they're surprised. That's what they say anyway. Down at the trial now, getting ready to spend another day in the courthouse, which is bogus trial. Super Tuesday. It all started. Super Tuesday, the biggest day, which we won every single thing. I mean, Super Tuesday was a big day for me. Colleges and universities, it's a shame. I'm so proud of the New York's finest. Morons take over this country, loaded up with radical left people that want this country to fail. And we're not gonna let this country fail. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much. Like, it's like listening to a voicemail from your mother after she accidentally switched her calcium pills with Ambien. You guys probably don't remember, but before cell phones, you'd have to let the whole message play before you could delete it. It would sound like this.
Hi, this is Seth. I'm not here right now. Please leave a message.
Late last night we got back from Michigan. We went to Wisconsin and Michigan yesterday. Down at the trial now, getting ready to spend another day in the courthouse, which is bogus trial.
True story. Right before I came out, they said, if you're gonna hit it with a hammer, you gotta wear safety goggles. NBC, looking out! Looking out for the talent. You know what they call me in the Comcast C-suite? Old Two Eyes. And guys, I thought they were crazy, but I got real scared when I hit it. I was super happy when I hit it that I was wearing the goggles. Also, can I just ask, why the hell does Trump get to do a press conference every day at the courthouse on whatever topic he wants? I don't remember the Menendez brothers in '96 stopping on the way in to give their take on the day's news. Lyle, Eric, what do you think of the Bulls winning 70 games? Hey, did you see Twister? And if so, do you think there'll be a sequel in 28 years called Twisters? That's how people talked in 1996. Hey, Lyle! Hey, Lyle, Eric, did you see the new answering machines? So Trump's allowed to talk about the case. He just can't disparage or intimidate jurors, witnesses, court staff, or their families. In fact, he's even allowed to complain about the temperature in the courtroom.
So I'm going to go into this trial. I'm going to sit in a freezing cold icebox for 8 hours, 9 hours or so. I appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. And I'm going to go into the icebox now.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, based on how much he's complaining about conditions in the courtroom, he would hate jail. I think he would really hate it. And I know if he ever got convicted, Fox News would spin it as a good thing. I think he's gonna thrive in prison. He's gonna make new friends and come out stronger than ever. But I still think he would hate it. For real. Also, is Joe Biden old? Sure, but if you're complaining about the temperature at your criminal trial, you are too old to be president. And too criminal. Also, it can't be that cold if you keep dozing off. They're probably worried if they raise the thermostat 1 degree, you'll just go into a coma. So Trump can whine to reporters about almost anything he wants, from the economy to the thermostat, or if you're listening to Fox News, he's being silenced.
Now Trump cannot even speak out in his own defense. He can't defend himself against political attacks stemming from the indictments. Of course, these conveniently handed down in the middle of an election. I thought we lived in the United States of America. I thought we celebrated freedom of speech. Is this still America?
If I were representing Donald Trump, I would tell him to write that check for $16,000 and go violate that ridiculous gag order another 8 times. That's what I would tell him.
They are threatening to throw the Republican nominee for president in jail for talking, Harris. for talking during an election. According to the gag, you could have the Loch Ness Monster as a juror, and Trump can't say the Loch Ness Monster is real.
But he definitely would. I mean, he definitely would. The Loch Ness Monster, Loch, of course, Scottish for Lago. They call her Nessie, and she came up to me once, big monster, strong monster, tears running down her long neck onto her massive flippers. And she said to me, Mr. President, I don't think you're even a wee bit guilty. Also, can we go back to what this supposed lawyer had to say?
If I were representing Donald Trump, I would tell him to write that check for $16,000 and go violate that ridiculous gag order another 8 times. That's what I would tell him.
That's your professional legal advice? I feel like Fox News lawyers are trying to make Rudy look good by comparison. I would tell him to violate his gag order by holding a press conference at a landscaping company. I found that wouldn't be perfect. It's called Howard Johnson Total Lawn Care. Well, it sounds like Trump took their advice because today, Judge Juan Merchan fined Trump for another gag order violation and this time threatened to throw Trump in jail.
The judge presiding over former President Trump's hush money trial warned Trump today he could be put in jail after holding him in contempt for the 10th time.
And he went on to say this, Jose, the last thing I want to do is to put you in jail. You are the former president of the United States and possibly the next president as well.
That's right. The judge threatened to throw Trump in jail while also acknowledging he could be the next president of the United States. That is a wild series of words. But we're somehow accustomed to it. I guarantee when most people saw that headline, they just scrolled past it on their phone, like, oh, Trump might go to jail. And then, whoa, did you hear this new Kendrick diss track? By the way, that is all I know about that story. When I first saw the words Meet the Grahams trending, I thought it was a new sitcom about Lindsay and his Meemaw. And yeah, I was bummed it wasn't. But seriously, think about how insane this is. Donald Trump's 2 most likely future destinations are the White House or jail, AKA
The icebox.
And yet, despite the fact that Trump could very well end up in jail after or even before the election, MAGA Republicans are still falling all over themselves to suck up to him in order to become his vice president. Even though on top of being a criminal and aspiring dictator, Trump almost got the last guy who had that job killed. Take Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, who once privately warned that Trump could be America's Hitler, but changed his mind once he decided to get into politics. Vance is reportedly on the list of possible Trump running mates and doesn't seem concerned about ending up like Pence.
Does it give you any pause to be his vice president, given how he has treated Mike Pence?
Caitlin, I'm extremely skeptical that Mike Pence's life was ever in danger. I think politics people like to really exaggerate things from time to time.
I think
know a
Mike
lot of
Pence
folks in
would
the
disagree
Democratic
with
Party.
that, Senator.
The idea that Donald Trump endangered anyone's lives when he told them to protest peacefully, it's just absurd. And the entire legal basis of this prosecution of Donald Trump
But they
from
were
Jack
chanting
Smith,
that they wanted to hang him.
Look, Caitlin, did a few people say some bad things? Sure, but do we blame Donald Trump for every bad thing that's ever been said by a participant in American democracy? I think that's an absurd standard.
And Caitlin, I doubt Mike Pence was in real danger. First of all, he's excellent at camouflaging himself. If the mob had found him, he could have just tricked them by closing his eyes and pretending to be a statue. Also, no, you can't blame Donald Trump for every bad thing anyone says ever, but you can blame him for the bad things people say when he told them those were the right things to say. Trump defended the mob in an interview, and according to the January 6th committee, he expressed support for the idea of hanging Pence. Another thing to blame him for, not picking up his phone mid-riot and tweeting, hey, actually, gang, don't hang Mike Pence. Of course, knowing J.D. Vance, he'd say that was one of the president's no-phone Wednesdays. He's slowly trying to wean himself off social media and its inherent toxicity. On Wednesday, he takes a walk in the park and he reads a book. In fact, Trump's toadies are so desperate to please him, they won't even say that they'll accept the results of the 2024 election if Trump loses, no matter how many times they're pressed. Like South Carolina Senator Tim Scott in this truly bizarre interview from Sunday.
Will you commit to accepting the election results of 2024? Bottom line.
At the end of the day, the 47th president of the United States will be President Donald Trump, and I'm excited to get back to low inflation, low unemployment.
Wait, Senator, yes or no? Yes or no? Will you accept the election results of 2024 no matter who wins?
That is my statement.
But is it just yes or no? Will you accept the election results of 2024?
I look forward to President Trump being the 47th president. Kristen, you could ask him multiple times. But
Senator, just a yes or no answer.
So the American people will make the decision.
But I don't hear you
committing for President Trump. That's clear.
I don't hear you committing to the election results.
Here's the challenge.
Will you commit to accepting the election results?
This is why so many Americans believe that NBC is an extension of the Democrat Party. At the end of the day, I've said what I've said, and I know that the American people, their voices will be heard, and I believe that President Trump will be our next president. It's that simple.
This is how much you have to humiliate yourself to suck up to Trump. Normal people don't talk like this. Imagine if your spouse got home late and you said, "Where were you?" And they said, "I was at work." And you said, "But I called work." And they said, "You weren't there." And they said, "That is my statement." And you said, "But where were you?" And they said, "You can ask it multiple times. But at the end of the day, I was at the office." And you said, "I'm not hearing an answer." And they say, "I look forward to sleeping." And that is my statement. You wouldn't shrug and say, "Oh, well, let's keep this marriage going for 4 more years." Republicans are embarrassing themselves and renouncing the notion of a peaceful transfer of power, a hallmark of our system, in a desperate bid to become the running mate of a guy who is facing the threat of imminent jail time. It's a political movement that is fundamentally opposed to democracy and deeply unmoored from reality. Honestly, at this point, there's not much else I can say, so I guess...
That is my statement.
This has been A Closer Look.